Let's start with the Sussex's feud with the Beckhams. According to Lady C, and I know she has a lot of fans amongst royal watchers, it was David and Victoria Beckham who cut ties with the Sussexes, not the other way around.
What happens when someone builds their fame on honesty, only to be exposed for hiding the truth? Meghan Markle rose to global power with a story of struggle, survival, and purpose. But now, that story is falling apart. From deleted photos and erased friendships to silent celebrity allies and one very public betrayal involving David Beckham, this isn't just a PR crisis, it's a reckoning, and the cracks are finally showing. For years, Harry and Meghan presented a carefully curated image of celebrity friendships and powerful alliances. And at the top of that list, David and Victoria Beckham. Stylish, global, respected, the Beckhams were seen as close allies during the Sussexes' transition from royalty to celebrity. But now, that alliance has reportedly shattered, and it wasn't the Sussexes who walked away.
Getting along with anybody? Are they incapable of not playing the victim?
According to royal commentator Lady C and several insiders, it was David and Victoria who cut ties with Harry and Meghan, shocking those who assumed the power couple had remained loyal. Behind the scenes, the final break came after the Invictus Games, Harry's signature project and emotional passion. For years, Invictus had been his crown jewel, a way to honor veterans while keeping a global stage. But in a surprise twist, reports say the organizers have chosen David Beckham, not Harry, as the new face of the 2026 Games. That decision wasn't just strategic, it was symbolic.
I'm so glad that Lady C made this point, Rita. And also, I don't know if you've heard Tom Bauer discuss how David Beckham showed up to support Prince Harry at Invictus.
David Beckham is not only a former sports legend, but a widely admired figure with almost universal appeal. Quiet, humble, and drama-free. He's everything Invictus wants to represent. Harry, by contrast, has become increasingly polarizing, wrapped in controversy and media fatigue. And it gets worse. Insiders say Harry was furious about the decision, seeing it as a betrayal. He viewed Invictus as his last uncontested legacy, something no scandal could touch. Losing it to a former friend? That's a blow to more than just his ego. It's a loss of status that cuts deeper than any tabloid headline. So why Beckham? Because while Harry clings to victim narratives and old headlines, Beckham quietly shows up, supports others, and avoids drama. He represents peace. Harry, unfortunately, brings problems. What really caused the split between the Sussexes and the Beckhams? It wasn't just distance or drift. It was something personal, something that happened during the last Invictus Games, something Meghan allegedly controlled. Reports claim Meghan blocked David Beckham from being photographed with Prince Harry at the event. The reason? She supposedly feared the Beckhams would outshine her and Harry. In other words, the power couple who built their brand on openness and friendship deliberately iced out one of the world's most beloved celebrities over optics. That moment sent a ripple through Invictus organizers. What was once a heartfelt celebration of wounded veterans began to feel more like a celebrity minefield. Meghan's presence drew headlines, but not for the right reasons. Whispers began circulating behind closed doors. Was the drama starting to outweigh the mission? Sources within the Invictus Foundation reportedly became frustrated. Every time Harry and Meghan appeared, headlines followed about their feud with the royals, about podcast flops, about strange public behavior. And while the media swarmed, the purpose of the event, honoring and empowering veterans, got lost. Faced with the choice between continuing with a prince whose image had grown chaotic, or pivoting to someone universally liked, the decision came down to this. Beckham brings stability. The Sussexes bring risk. And that's when everything changed. Organizers looked at the future of the Games and made the call. Beckham was in, not because of a single fight, but because of a pattern that had become impossible to ignore. As one veteran involved with the Games put it bluntly, we needed less spotlight and more service, and David gave us that. While the world focused on Meghan's royal rise, few stopped to question the world she came from. Long before the titles, speeches, and palace photos, Meghan was moving in circles that most people never even glimpse. Exclusive parties, elite yachts, and private events filled with the rich, powerful, and sometimes dangerous. What's catching people's attention now isn't just where she was, but who else was there. Photos, event guest lists, and old social media data have started surfacing, showing Meghan at some of the same locations and events as people now linked to Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle. Not Epstein himself, but the people around him. People like Ghislaine Maxwell, people who attended private yacht parties, who showed up on secluded islands, and who floated through Europe's most tightly guarded social scenes. These overlaps aren't coincidence. They form a pattern of access. While Meghan was never publicly seen with Epstein, the same cannot be said for some of the guests at the events she attended. It's not about guilt by association. It's about how small and interconnected these elite worlds really are. These weren't 1,000-person galas. They were intimate, exclusive, curated environments. And Meghan didn't stumble into them. She made her way there on purpose. Former friends and colleagues have quietly said that Meghan was always strategic. If someone had money, influence, or a path forward, she found a way to get close, offering help, volunteering for events, or simply making sure she was in the right room at the right time. The most uncomfortable part? This wasn't just Hollywood networking. These were the social pipelines that overlapped with some of the most disturbing scandals of the past decade. Meghan's rise through these articles may not have been criminal, but it certainly wasn't accidental. As soon as Meghan got engaged to Prince Harry, something strange happened. Her public past, blogs, photos, social media, even full websites, began disappearing almost overnight. Personal Instagram accounts were deleted. Her old lifestyle blog, The Tig, vanished. Party photos, travel memories, behind-the-scenes shots from yacht trips and private beaches, gone. It wasn't subtle. It was a full digital wipeout. To the public, it seemed like a royal protocol thing. After all, marrying into the monarchy comes with rules. But insiders now say this cleanup went far beyond the normal palace routine. It wasn't about privacy. It was about control. But here's the thing about the internet. It never truly forgets. Digital researchers and online sleuths have recovered metadata, geotags, and cached posts that point to exactly where Meghan had been during her rise. Monte Carlo, Cannes, Amalfi Coast, all luxurious locations tied to the same years and places where Epstein's circle was most active in Europe. Again, there's no direct photo linking Meghan to Epstein or his known associates, but the digital footprints show an undeniable proximity. She was in the rooms, on the docks, on the beaches, right where many of these players were moving. And yet, when Meghan began her royal chapter, she didn't just leave that world behind. She erased it. No explanation, no mention, no acknowledgement. Just silence, as if it never happened. That's what started to make people ask, if there's nothing to hide, why hide it so thoroughly? The more people dug, the more calculated it looked. Like someone preparing for a new role, like someone rewriting their story in real time. And now that the truth is crawling back to the surface, the cover-up looks worse than the connections ever did. Behind the glossy headlines and filtered images, a quieter conversation has been happening for years among people who knew Meghan before the spotlight. Former friends, ex-roommates, even colleagues from her acting days have started to speak out, and what they're saying paints a very different picture than the one the public was sold. One former Hollywood friend, who once shared apartments and auditions with Meghan, claimed she always had her eye on the next big connection. She didn't go to those parties to relax, the source said. She went to move up, to be seen, to be chosen. Another insider described how Meghan would offer to help plan charity galas or coordinate exclusive events, not out of generosity, but because it guaranteed a guest list full of powerful names. If someone had a yacht, a role, or an industry connection, Meghan found a way into their orbit. She wasn't alone in this approach, but what struck people was how quickly she cut ties once she got what she needed. "You'd think she was your friend one week," one person said, then never hear from her again. Even at Spotify, where she signed a multi-million-dollar podcast deal that fell apart, Staff reportedly gave her and Harry mocking nicknames like Ginge and Winge, or Eva, referencing a manipulative character from a 1950s film. They joked in private, but behind the humor was frustration. The power couple had delivered very little and expected a lot. And then there was the shift. Once Meghan became a duchess, those old friends and contacts were ghosted. Social media wiped, numbers changed, no thank yous, just a wall. This is why so many people are turning now, not because of jealousy, but because they feel used. People once close to her say the version of Meghan the world sees today isn't fake, but it is incomplete. And when you leave a trail of closed doors and whispered warnings, eventually the whispers get loud. As the whispers turned into headlines, something even more telling began to happen. People in Meghan's inner circle started going quiet. One by one, her most powerful supporters pulled back, choosing silence over solidarity. And in Hollywood, that silence speaks volumes. Netflix, the streaming giant that once backed Harry and Meghan with a massive deal, quietly canceled her upcoming cooking show. No announcement, no press release, just gone. Industry insiders say it wasn't about ratings or creative direction. It was about risk. Too much heat, not enough value. Even Oprah, who helped launch Meghan's public rebranding with that explosive 2021 interview, has remained noticeably silent through the recent backlash. According to people close to her, Oprah's team is re-evaluating future collaborations with Meghan, not because of betrayal, but because they're trying to protect their own brand. Oprah doesn't associate with people who bring chaos instead of clarity. Behind the scenes, Meghan's team has gone into what PR professionals call damage control mode. That's when a public figure floods the internet with soft, feel-good content to drown out the noise. In the last few weeks, Meghan has appeared in cozy Zoom interviews from her California home, sharing stories about baking with her kids, mental health awareness, and charity projects focused on kindness and healing. It's textbook reputation repair, but this time, it isn't working. The public isn't buying it. Every new story feels like a distraction, not a revelation, and every forced smile only raises more questions about what's being hidden. Hollywood knows how this game is played. When the machine shifts from telling your story to covering your mistakes, you're already in trouble. And Meghan's machine is breaking down fast. Even her most loyal fans are starting to admit something doesn't feel right. The image is polished, but the foundation is cracked, and the silence from her friends? That might be the loudest warning yet. Legally, Meghan Markle hasn't been charged with anything. No lawsuits, no subpoenas, no official investigations. But in the court of public opinion, the verdict is shifting, and it's not looking good. The backlash isn't about crimes. It's about character, about trust. It's about how someone can claim to be a voice for women and victims while quietly erasing a past tied to some of the world's most toxic power circles. Meghan's supporters once praised her as a symbol of modern feminism. But now, people are asking, can you really call yourself a victim of the system if you used that same system to rise? The contradiction is hard to ignore. Meghan's entire public persona has been built around helping others, speaking truth to power, and standing up for what's right. But critics argue that when it comes to her own past, especially the parts that intersect with wealth, influence, and controversial figures, she's done the exact opposite. She's hidden, deflected, and rebranded. The hypocrisy is what's driving people away. Not the yacht parties, not the ambition, but the denial. If she had owned it, admitted it, maybe even explained how she grew from it, people might have forgiven or even admired the journey. But instead, she buried it, then attacked anyone who brought it up. That silence has become deafening, especially now, when people expect transparency from public figures, especially ones who have built entire brands on being real. And it's not just fans who are turning. Industry insiders are growing cold. Major brands are hesitant. Netflix has doubts. Oprah has gone dark. Even other royals, once warned not to speak against her, are now subtly distancing themselves. The most telling sign of all? Meghan's recent media appearances don't mention her past. Not the old trips, not the lost friendships, not Evie, and the Beckhams. It's like she's trying to reset the story mid-season, hoping the audience doesn't notice the cast has changed. But the audience has noticed. And now they want answers. Meghan Markle built her public image on strength, survival, and truth. But now, that image is unraveling. Undone not by scandal alone, but by silence, erasure, and contradiction. The past she tried to hide is catching up, and the people she once counted on are stepping back. In the end, the question isn't just what Meghan did, it's what she chose to pretend she didn't. And that raises the only question that really matters. Who is she, really?